Hello, and welcome to today's Astro Breeze transits for the week, astrology transits for the week of May 16th. So, we just had Mercury turn direct on Sunday, and it's just starting to kind of yawn as it thinks about picking up some speed, but it went back to all the way to 5 degrees Taurus. So it's on its way back through its shadow, and then it'll hit new territory and it'll be feeling a lot better than it has been. So look at this lineup, though, that we have. We've got Chiron in Aries, the moon in Aries. Jupiter's just moving into Taurus today. Look at there, 0 degrees. Sounds like a weather forecast. Jupiter just moved into Taurus today. um, Getting closer to the node, to the north node. Mercury's in Taurus, Uranus is in Taurus, Sun is still in Taurus, and that's just the vertex, which is just a point, but nonetheless, it's in Gemini. So we have this whole spring quadrant represented over here. Look at all the energy there, and look at all of the energy in Taurus. And you see, the Chiron is. Well, it's something in our system, but what's weird about that is its orbit, moving in between the what is it, Jupiter and Saturn, the inner kind of an outer areas. So it kind of goes through that asteroid belt, I believe. I have to get a little bit more brushed up on that, but the last thing I heard about it. But it's there nonetheless, and it's just a little bit past this halfway point, of that sign. And the moon travels quickly, so the moon just passed it. So today, there could be some emotional things being brought up to people, going back over old emotional wounds, with the moon just passing over Chiron. Maybe the last day, 24 hours or so, might be bringing back some old things to heal up, some things from your memory, different things you've had going on. Could be years, But anyway, so you don't feel you're alone. A lot of people, it's good to hear some of these things because you go, oh God, it's not me. I mean, it is, but it isn't. So anyway, yeah, the moon just went over the Chiron and it's affecting everybody, especially if you have things around that degree or if you have things in maybe fire signs or cardinal signs. All right. So look at this big stellium in Taurus. I mean, we've been getting these big stelliums, we got a big one in Capricorn, and we've had big ones in Capricorn. It's nice to see, we had some in Aries there for a while. It's nice to see some other stelliums, although this is in the same, sign as Capricorn. It's got a nice Earth stellium. So stellium is when several planets, some people say 4 or 5, some say 3. So I just say when there's a cluster. So here we go. We got the moon and Jupiter today, north node. The sun almost, we said, and then Uranus and Mercury. Interesting what I just kind of tripped out on. Before, we had, before Mercury went retrograde, it almost it had an almost. So with Uranus, so it'll get over that again. The sun just went over Uranus, so we just had some interesting things stirring up. All right, just wanted to bring your attention to kind of what's going on now. So Mercury just went direct, so it will start catching up to Uranus, to the sun. But anyway, I'll get to that another time. Okay, so today there's so much going on. It's going to be kind of an interesting week. We also have Mars making a really nice trine over to Neptune. Mars is just at its last bit of being, in its fall. That's the sign where something is opposite, where it's exalted, the honored guest. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. And here it is, now in its fall of Cancer. So it's it doesn't get to express its energy as much, or what the energy it expresses is modified, different, subdued. So it's not been the best, time for Mars. So Mars is really itching to get into, something a little bit more its speed. So it's really getting toward, running toward Leo, which we'll have this week, which kicks off some interesting things. But nonetheless, it is making a nice trine because it's a water sign over to Neptune. So Neptune, still there, and then in its sign, and then Mars is now given it that aspect. So there's like kind of what the ability maybe to move with ease or to move with grace. You have that kind of metaphysical overtones. Um, you can kind of get beyond feeling and maybe start to move forward, because Mars wants to go and it's in the feeling sign, and it's just tuning in to its inner self, its inner nature, kind of, that's just that inner knowingness before the action takes place. Okay, that's how I kind of want to say it. And we just noticed that Jupiter moved into Taurus, so now it's that whole kind of time where I like Jupiter in Aries. It gives you the feeling like there's so much to do. You got to catch up with stuff, that you don't have enough time, that you better take this opportunity. But when it moves into Taurus, we have a little bit better chance to maybe finish things that we started. The energy slows down a little bit, and it goes from that outward manifesting creativity of that Aries expansion of Jupiter, expanding, that cardinal spark. Let's start this. Aries, now we got to settle down. That energy, that explosive energy, can then get settled into that fixed sign. So things can take hold. That little fire ember can start to burn and give birth to some of these things that we've been creating and feeling like, now it can maybe get some stability there. Okay, that's pretty cool, I think. And when again Jupiter was just going through Aries, it was like grabbing the opportunities. Now we solidify them. If we persist or persevere. All right, tomorrow, look at the set days. On Wednesday, the 17th. Interesting kind of a day. We've got the Jupiter, because it's now walked into 0 degrees, and it's making that square over to Pluto. It started as soon as it moved in there, but it's, getting a little bit more speed there. So what would we say? Jupiter and Pluto. If Pluto is like the underneath, it's things that are hidden. It's those dark energies kept below, and Jupiter is expansive. So we kind of like things that are undercover get brought to our awareness. It could be some Jupiter. Jupiter also is, it's that expansiveness, and Pluto is that volatility and struggles that are kind of out of sight, can't quite see them, but they're there. And Jupiter's going to bring it to the awareness. It brings it up to the surface. I remember astrologer Rick Levine talking about this aspect, and he said it was like, when you're underwater, like 50 feet underwater, and if you've never scuba dived or been that low, it doesn't matter. You get the concept. If you let out a little exhale, some bubbles, they're small because they're compressed it down there, right? All that weight, all that pressure, it makes a little bubble. You fart, that bubble's going to come up. When it comes up to the surface, it's going to be like, like, whoa, what do you eat? But that bubble expands as it comes up to the surface. So we have that depth of that nasty Pluto fart coming up to the surface. I hate to give you a graphic, but that's a pretty good one. I added that part in there. But Rick was talking about that bubble coming up and expanding. And I'm giving it the plutonic edge of the foul odor. So we can kind of get the gist of what might start to happen, like Wednesday, Thursday, as that aspect. Even now, because the aspect's coming in. It's just as it change signs, as Jupiter change signs, then all of a sudden hits up against that square to Pluto. Okay, so that's a big thing that's going on. Let's move forward here. And then we've got the sun now getting over, the next day on Thursday, we see the sun making a nice sextile over to Neptune. So Sun, Neptune. So we still have the ability that we can like reach into our imagination and pull up the higher side, pull up the higher side of Neptune. But maybe versus being misled by it. It's a nice aspect. And with the sun, it kind of shines the light on any of the deceptive things that Neptune might be up to. And it's in a good harmonious relationship. So Neptune kind of be on its best behavior. And that gets along. So we can use that imagination. We can reach in and pull on that higher side of Neptune, that good side of that, because it's in a good relationship there with the sun. Yay. And then also Mercury that day is going into a nice sextile. It's another sextile here with Saturn. It's 2 signs away. A sextile is 60 degrees or 2 signs away. And you'll see it'll be in the same polarity, the same, masculine or feminine. And we could see that this is in feminine signs. And so was the last one. So was, the sun, because it's still in Taurus. So Taurus is feminine, and Pisces is feminine. So we have a sextile. So we've also, we've got it involved again. Neptune is here again. But okay, we already talked about that one. All right, so then we go over to the Saturn one. There's so much here. Okay, so the Saturn sextile, I already talked about the one. We have serious thoughts, Saturn, Mercury, serious thoughts. We could have serious communications. We could have things taking hold in reality. When Mercury is over here, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Let's get solid about this. Let's bring this into something practical. Let's not just talk about it. Mercury in practical Taurus. Let's make this work. And Saturn in easy Pisces will be more amenable to not having so hard of a structure. It's like working with somebody at the first steps. You have maybe more patience here. Okay, to maybe set down some initial things, whatever the initial phases are in something. All right, now to Friday. And Friday we start moving into, well, it's just past. I wanted to see it. Let me go back a few hours, because I like when the moon, there we go. There it is. Move that down here. Okay, so look at the sun moon. They're at 28 degrees Taurus. There's our new moon when they're together, because the moon is dark. It's like right there. It can't be seen. And this is almost, we're past the eclipses. It's not an eclipse, but it's very powerful. It's very, earthy. I think this one is almost maybe more powerful than the last eclipse one that we had. But nonetheless, it's very powerful. And then that is also sextiling over to Mars. See, Mars, we're 2 signs away on the other side. We had 2 signs going over to Pisces. Now we have it going over to Cancer. So it's a earth and water on the other side, with the sun and moon this time over to Mars. So Mars, is like right at the end of its trek through Cancer. It can be patriotic. It can be, I don't want to say just patriotic. It's like toward the home. It's like defensive of the home. It's, defensive of children. It wants to rip off anybody's head that's messing with children, kind of energy. And then it goes into Leo, and it will kind of energy. It's like, yes, roar. Arr. So that's the kind of energy that Mars is going through. And right over here, it's, making that it's getting ready to be messed with. Let me say that. Mars, it's going to go through some stuff here, but it's got that little nice kiss of the sun and the moon over to the warrior Mars. Yes, it's okay. You've gone through that sign. You're doing real good, buddy. You're doing real good, man. Because that moves into Leo, and then you can see that it will start. Well, I'll get there in a second. It will start to make some other aspects, but let's see if there's anything else I want to tell you about here. Yeah, Mars is it's in its fall. I told you about that, because it's opposite of, it being in its exalted place in Capricorn. And told you about the sextiles. What else was this weird? Something in here. Oh, the new moon here is in a weird place in space. It's near the fixed star of Algol, which is at the end of Taurus. And that's a lot to do with cutting things off from the past. there's the whole beheading thing is going on with those degrees. There's some mythology of Medusa there. And, Medusa was, I think she was raped by Neptune. And, then there's a whole bunch of stuff. So she got the wrong end of the stick, and then she got that bad curse and all that stuff going on. But that was just like an icky place in space. And it was near that constellation there. So this is interesting that this is there. That's why I think it's a very powerful place. It may be kind of a foreshadow of some interesting events to come. And so that we go on to the next day. So Friday, so the moon now goes over, and then it makes that oh, actually I want to go. Let me go days here. There we go. The sun also is floating with that, and the sun is almost at the end. It's at the end of, in that spot there at the end of the sign. It's about ready to move into Gemini. So another thing we have going on, another sign change. The sun. We have Mars, and we had what did I say? Jupiter this week. So 3 planets making sign changes. That when anything changes signs, it's like rock and rolling. It's something to pay attention to. Those are some major happenings. We got 3 in 1 week. And then of course the moon making that, the new moon. So it kind of shakes things up. So there's kind of like 4 things like that on that level. All right. But we see now Mars, it's like, certain, it could be different parts of the planet. It could be late Friday or Saturday, but now Mars moves into Leo. And we know that now when it's moving into Leo, and it's going to make aspects, we know, to Pluto and then now we also know to Jupiter, because those are at that 0 degree of the sign. So we have Jupiter. The easiest way to say this is at the crux of this T square. T square we know is like an opposition and a square. So Jupiter is squaring both Mars, because it's a fixed to fixed sign, and it's also making a square over to Pluto. And then if that's the case, then Pluto and Mars must be making an opposition to each other. And you can see this, ooh, ooh, coming in, right? We had the Jupiter, when it moved into Taurus, it started to make that square to Pluto. And then now Mars is joining the party. So this could be, Friday into Saturday could be a very, I kind of, part of me wants to say volatile, because it is kind of explosive. Fixed energy, could be that way. It's not volatile like cardinal, but it's big, and it's sturdy, and it's crushing. That's what I mean by volatile, kind of. It's big energy. It's also things coming up to the surface, things that were maybe stirred up with previous, things coming back from the past that didn't sit right. A lot of political issues coming up that need to be repacked, that need to be brought, that we got those depths coming up from the surface. We got those bubbles coming up. We've got those, now Mars adding to it with energy, and it can't wait. It's just been kind of so suppressed. So now it's like, oh, I'm in my sister's sign. Yes. I think it could be kind of like a 2-year-old escaping, it's like, oh, I got free. Wee. Anyway, it could be some really intense energy. So watch where you are fixed. Watch where you are stuck on certain ideas, or stuck on being limited. Oh no, we can't do that. I can't afford. We can't. That kind of stuff. Maybe like a negative affirmation. Watch some of those with yourself. But this is a big one. Could be very, very volatile, very interesting. And then it could, well, I don't want to go off into other things, but it's a very interesting aspect there. And luckily though, the moon, as it was going over, when it was conjunct the sun, it was kind of giving this a little bit of a break, maybe an outlet, to emote. So don't be upset if you find yourself maybe emoting to get rid of some of the the excess energy or the frustration that might bring. T squares. We got again an opposition and two squares. There's some intense stuff. There could be some frustration. Yeah, yeah. What else is going on here? We've got, when the moon goes into Gemini here, we've got it making, some trine energy over to Pluto. So that's what I'm saying. It's also going to take some of the steam off as well. It's an out of sign trine, and then it goes in sign. What else? Sunday, we've got, the sun moving into the new sign, into Gemini. And when it does, it has a relationship over with Pluto. It's going to make a trine, right? Air to air. So the sun now gives a little bit of a outlet, a release from some of this energy that's happening, with this back and forth. So the sun now is like coming in and going, hey, boys, I said, call it quits. Calm down. Everybody, calm down. Yeah, so that's some interesting stuff coming in. And then, we got the sun now sextiling Mars. So we could have kind of like call in the cavalry. It's like Mars could be like, look, I told you, and look, you witnessed it and he saw it. I told you. So maybe something like that where something gets vindicated, validated, and then with the light of the sun, with a nice sextile over to Mars, supporting what's coming up from Pluto. Pluto doesn't care. It's just going to bring up shit. It's going to just bring it up. And that's kind of what's going on. So it's sort of like we get to reap the benefits of the inevitability of experiences of the changes that are occurring with these sun's aspects. Yeah. It's a very interesting time this next week. And then Monday, what do we got here? We still got that riding sextile with Mars and the sun. Sun moves and then it's there with Mars. What else we got going on? We're stepping into that. The sun, it's just moved off of there. Let's see, we got the moon. We'll be making a nice trine over to Saturn. That'll be cool. When moon goes through Cancer, it'll kind of be a little softening with some of that Saturn energy, because we see there's it's like so much with this T square. Then we have the moon, the sun, in a few ways making, and Saturn trying to go, oh, cool down. It's okay. It's okay. Come on. And then Saturn even gets involved. It's like, come on. I said it's all right. Come on. So yeah, we've got an intense week. So keep it coolin', baby. Watch your toes, dot your I's and cross your T's. Don't forget to blow your nose. All right. So I hope this shares some light on this week. It'll be an interesting week, and then we'll resolve some more things. It'll kind of come to a diffusing resolve of some sort at the end of the month, which we'll talk about next week. But there's quite enough here. Lots of things. And then remember, the new moon is a time to bring in new beginnings. And it's a new moon in Taurus. At the end of Taurus, is still in Taurus. It's a time to bring in some new solidity, solidify some things, cement some things you've been working on, bring some stuff to fruition, finish some projects, clean up some of that stuff, get things set, get things stable, make some earthy shifts or changes in your life, to give yourself more security. All right, that's it for now. And I think that's it. So we will see you all next week. Thanks for watching and talk to you later. Bye for now.